pense aux maires de la place de Mai, qui ont tenu tête pendant plus de 30 ans et qui ont exigé justice pour leurs fils, qui n'ont pas lâché un jour et qui sont en train de maintenant avoir justice à quelques cas, mais c'est quand même un bon précédent. Alors moi, j'envoie cet appel à toutes les organisations, à toutes les coalitions qui travaillent ici à Montréal, pour qu'on commence à préparer nos dossiers et qu'on passe à une autre étape. Parce qu'ici, on voit que la justice est d'un seul côté. Les policiers sont systématiquement blanchis. Alors, on n'a pas d'espoir d'obtenir justice ici au Canada, ici au Québec. Alors, je crois qu'il faut aller vers les tribunaux internationaux, au moins pour que le monde sache que le Canada n'est pas le pays le plus respectueux des droits humains, comme il se vante de le dire.
Merci beaucoup de partager. Je voudrais remercier vraiment les familles d'être ici avec nous parce que ça prend énormément de courage et de force pour Et merci beaucoup à vous tous d'être ici pour soutenir les familles. Je pense que c'est très important pour elles aussi. Alors, justement, je voudrais inviter Julie Matson, qui est la fille de Benny Matson, qui a été tuée par la VPD, la police de Vancouver, en 2002. Alors, elle va venir nous partager aussi son expérience.
First, I want to thank you guys for sharing. I have been there. I completely, you have my heart. My name is Julie Matson, and my dad was Ben Matson. He died at the hands of the police on May 12th in 2002. And, like, you guys, I know we're all on the same side here. We all know all the details, and there's so many similarities between what happened with my dad to every single one of your stories, and the investigations that happened and how botched they were, and like things that happened that you just, as a normal human being, you shake your head at because it's unimaginable that these people are paid to conduct their jobs in the manner that they actually did. But I'll tell you guys the story of what happened with my dad, and then I'll share a little bit about the process of going through the public inquest. So it was May 12th, 2002. It was actually Easter weekend, Easter long weekend. It was the Saturday going into the Sunday, and he was downtown at a blues bar with his friends, and it was a busy night. Like, it was a holiday weekend, and everybody was out. And my dad, he actually didn't drink. He was like sober for 13 years, but he kind of led a very sort of solitary, lonely life. He was a truck driver, so he was on the road most of the time. And when he was home, you know, he had his friends that he'd go to this one blues bar, and that's where he was on this particular night. And he had, his prized possession was his Harley Davidson, and it was parked outside. And there was a car that was parked beside it, and the people that owned the car were coming out from, they were actually at a strip club, which is just a couple doors down from where this blues bar was, and there was 4 of them, and they were quite drunk, and they couldn't really get out, they couldn't really move their car because my dad's motorcycle was parked. So they actually attempted to move the motorcycle, not just a motorcycle, they attempted to move his Harley Davidson, which is like preposterous, that thought right there. But some of my dad's friends saw this and they yelled, they're like, don't touch that Harley. And so my dad came out with a bunch of his friends, they're like, let's go, make sure these guys don't move my bike. And so they had a verbal altercation across the street from each other. And so as it was, the bike didn't even need to be moved for them to get out. But there was words exchanged across the street, like at about 10 to 2 in the morning, between 2 different parties, like my dad, his friends, and this group of people that were out at the strip club, who actually happened to be off-duty cops, which is awesome. And one of them ran into, there was a corner store at the side, and said, call 911. And so he actually called 911. This is actually the brother of the off-duty RCMP officer. And I think, his brother's a cop, so he kind of knows what's happening in the city. And so he knew to say certain words to get a really fast response. And so he said, there's police transcripts, 911 tapes that I've looked through and saw it. He said, there's a fight, the man has a knife, and he looks like a member of the Hells Angels. So right away, here we are, a Harley. Like my dad would have died if he was, that would have been the coolest thing ever, if he was actually a member of the Hells Angels, but he wasn't. He was just a guy with a bike and wore a leather vest. And so there, at that particular point in Vancouver, there was a huge investigation into Hells Angels activities, and it being a busy, long weekend, there was over 60 actual cops came down, like some on foot. There was there was cars, there was bikes, but in this vicinity, within like a 10-minute period, there was like 60 cops. But there was obviously a smaller group that were there right away and were handling this situation. So there is a woman cop who was there just around the corner, and she started talking to the off-duty RCMP officer first, and they're like, no, nothing, it's all fine, blah, 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 we're just gonna leave. And at that point, my dad, he didn't like the cops, really, who does? And so he went back in the bar, he's like, I'm out of here. And so he's just with his friends in the bar, and 3 cops came in, and they had a taser they had a taser ready to be used, the sparks were going, and my dad could see this, and the question that no one will ever be able to answer is why my dad, he actually left. No one knows the answer why. I could imagine, he does not like cops, and there's cops coming towards him with a taser. And so he went out the back door, and the bar wasn't very big, the back door wasn't very far. It's not like he had to run to it. He just tried to just go at the back door, end of story here, this verbal confrontation is done. And he ran down the alley, and he just wanted to get away from the situation. But the cops chased him, and he actually tripped. Now he actually ran down an alley to a very busy intersection. If you guys know Vancouver, it was at Davie Street and Granville. So right in the center of action. There's so many clubs around. And it was right outside of a restaurant actually. And he tripped, he ran around the corner and he tripped. And 5 cops jumped on top of him and held him down and kicked the shit out of him, basically. And to the point, actually, in the autopsy reports, there were so many bodily bruises shaped like boots that every cop had their boots confiscated as evidence so that they could try to match up. Because do you think they matched up? Who did it? No. But it was that visible that he had so many boot prints on his body and his skull. And my dad was little. He was not even 5'8", and he weighed about 140 to 145 pounds. And there was 5 cops. They were all different ranges of experience. One of them, the main cop, was 18 years on the force. 2 of them, it was their last night, I should say, their last night as trainees out of the institute, and the next day they were going to become full-fledged cops. And then there was 2 others that had like 3 and 5 years experience. And at the particular moment, my cousin, who is my closest in age in my family, she was actually at the Justice Institute, and she was in training. She's a VPD now. And so the thing that was interesting, as family, like, we heard stories from her. Like, her boyfriend at the time was also a cop. And when this happened, like, this is major, obviously, like, in-death custody, like, in-custody death. And there was locker room talk of this, like, and all the cops are talking about it. And she, like, told us, she shared this with us, we're her family. And there was 2 women police that were right there on call, and they were friends of hers. They actually were crying, because could you imagine this traumatic experience? And like, so 5 cops holding him down, and there was so many witnesses all around. Like, there was people yelling, like, you guys are hurting him. There's people around him that physically heard my dad say, stop, you're killing me, like, I can't breathe. And how he actually died is he choked on his own vomit, and he suffocated. And but this nice story that they have come up with, which is really convenient. They said he was in a state of cocaine psychosis, and it caused like excited delirium, and he had superhuman strength because he was in cocaine psychosis. Okay, so if you guys like follow, I'm sure you guys know what these buzzwords actually are. Excited delirium is a term that has never been, there's been no weight from any medical testing that have actually said, yes, this is something that exists. The people that made Taser came up with the term excited delirium. And it's like a buzzword that's such a reason for so many people's death, because it sounds really official, excited delirium. And so cocaine psychosis, this is a really good one, because I think like earlier in that evening, my dad had taken a puff of a joint, and it had some cocaine in it. And he didn't have very much, because I spoke with his friends, and he had like 1 or 2 puffs. And I asked, there was a toxicology report, of course, and I had to go through a public inquiry, and I point blank asked the toxicologist, well, how much cocaine was in his system? Like, me as a layperson, like, I need to know, like visually, grains of sand, grains of salt, like, how was it?